back to Signature Scents. My name is Ryan, and today we have a nice unboxing of Eau De Rochas Homme. I actually received this a few days ago, and I've had this sitting in the drawer, and I've been eagerly waiting to unwrap this. I wanted to make sure I had caught it on camera for you guys, so let's go ahead and get this open and see what this smell is all about. Now, as I open this, I want to say that I got turned on to this is because this was promoted as a very nice citrus fragrance that's supposed to last a decent amount of time. And it's also reasonably cheap as well. I forget the exact price, but it was very, very affordable. I believe I got this on Mercari. Here's the box. It actually kind of has, that blue background gives me old school kind of like 80s vibes a little bit. It kind of looks like a blue, that same pattern on the Aramis box, which is brown and yellowish. This is a blue one, so I don't know. It's interesting. So it's Paris. It's 50 mils. I thought the bottle design was also pretty cool for this as well. But as you guys know, the design is cool and all that. The presentation is kind of secondary. It has to smell good at the end of the day. So here's the bottle. It's got a really nice pattern on it. Sort of a cheap plastic cap. So let me get the smell out of the bottle. I'll spray some on some paper, and then I'll also put some on the skin, and I'm going to go ahead and wear it for the day and then come back and give you guys some information about it. So this is supposed to be basically a citrusy top with a little bit of basil and I think lemon verbena. And the heart is mostly like florals according to Fragrantica of the notes. It's got a little spice like coriander. There's also pine artemisia apparently in it, and a base is like the traditional like oak moss, vetiver sort of thing. So out of the bottle, it definitely reminds me of something I've smelled before. It kind of smells a little bit like citrus soap is what it smells like out of the bottle. So let me get this on some paper. I actually forgot to pre-make a strip, so I'm going to tear off a little bit of the piece of this paper in front of me here and just to give this a smell. And I like to do this because I like to get the paper and the bottle are kind of like the baseline, and then once you put it on the skin, my skin's going to project it differently, but it gives me an idea of what this DNA is about, and it also kind of gives you guys, the viewers, an idea, because once you apply it on your skin, it may project differently. So let's go ahead and spray this and maybe see how the sprayer. Ooh, so this one is like a poof kind of spray instead of like the more stream. Smells very good in the air. It's, oh, you know what? It out of the bottle, it smells like one of those, it kind of smells like one of the fragrances you'd smell at like Abercrombie Fitch or like one of those clothing stores. I don't know what it is. There's something in this that reminds me of like the 90's, which I think, let me see when this stuff was released. I have it up here. It was released in the 90's, so I was kind of bang on about that. It has that 90's sort of vibe about it. Okay, so off the paper, it smells very similar to what it does in the bottle. It is spreading out a little bit. But wow, it's sort of a... Okay, so I have a fragrance. I'm going to review this at some point. It was the first fragrance that I really wore, that I have memories of wearing. Like in high school, I think it was far back as high school, maybe middle school, but definitely high school. All the parties and stuff like that was Pleasures for Men by Estee Lauder. If you've never smelled that, it's also from the 90's. Now this doesn't smell like that per se, but there is something in this that it's like these guys are cousins, and I think it's those fizzy aldehydes on the top is what I'm getting. That gives it that kind of 90's vibe for me. So it's very nice, not quite what I expected, to be honest. I was expecting something, some of the ways that some of the reviewers have explained this, it was supposed to be very photorealistic, lemon, almost. This is like a fizzy, like they say, that fizzy lemon. It's the best, I'll try to think of the words I'm speaking it. It's a slightly aquatic lemon is kind of the way that I would explain this. A little bit of florals in the background, the citrus, the verbena, the basil, that's kind of what you're getting in the front. I would say the primary accords here is what's being painted is the lemoniness and the aldehyde sort of aquatic, lightly aquatic. But the main thing is the lemoniness, and that lemoniness is being painted. I say lemoniness because it's not like it doesn't smell like a squeezed lemon. It smells like a lemon fragrance. It's very nice. It does have that kind of 90s vibe about it, though. That's the best way I can say it. 90s vibe, the aquatic note, but the lemon is what you're getting in the air. So let me go ahead and take this to the next stage. I'm going to put it on my skin. Ooh, good, really good. It puts a lot of juice out. So I'm going to put a lot of this stuff on. From what I've read, it's not a beast mode performer. It's not one that you have to worry about overspraying. So yeah, I might do a little more. So I like to spray it behind my ears in this area. Sometimes I put it on the back of my neck. Ooh, I'm getting a taste of it. And I like to put it under the shirt too, as long as it's not in this area, because when I put it here, scents, especially ones that are synthetic, you know, the nose gets knocked out and you don't get the wafts. I like to put it back here so I can get the wafts. And here is like a diffusion. It gets the heat going and you kind of get the wafts, but you're not like breathing in every single breath. So let's get it on the skin. Okay. On the skin, it's a little different. Ooh. Doesn't taste very good, I'll tell you that much. On the skin, a lot of the verbena. I think this, as opposed to like a squeezed lemon citrus, it has more of that lemon verbena, a slight greenness to it. Green's probably not the right word, but it doesn't smell like squeezed lemon. It does smell more like a plant-like lemon, which is what lemon verbena kind of is. Aldehydes are still there. What this is mostly for me is what my skin seems to be projecting is the lemon verbena part of it. Yeah, lemon verbena. A little fizzy on the top. It's not as fizzy off. The paper and the bottle had more of that aldehyde, sort of slightly aquatic smell to it. Skin is mostly the verbena, maybe a little bit of the orange. The verbena is what's being painted here, and there's a little bit of supporting actors, a little bit of orange, a little bit of basil. There is some floral going on in the background, but it's going to take a minute to get dry down. So I think I'm going to stop it here, and I will say real quick too, it doesn't smell like it's not a huge projector, but I'll say this is going to project a decent amount for a little bit. But it doesn't have that real condensed, thick smell like it's going to be like, it's going to stick to my skin forever. So let me go ahead and end the video, this part of it here. I'm actually going to put a little bit on my shirt too, see if I can get anything out of it. And I will check back in a little bit and let you know how it performs. Okay guys, I am back and I have some notes to share about this Eau De Rochas. So I'm going to share about what kind of wafts I'm getting, my projection, longevity, and my overall thoughts on this stuff so far. So this stuff, I will say, surprised me very much. This was another blind buy. I didn't research it too much before I got into it. I just knew, all I really knew about it was a recommended citrusy fragrance that had pretty decent legs. And I'm someone who, citrus fragrance don't really work too well on me. My skin sort of eats them up. So anything that has citrus and long legs, I'm wanting to give it a shot, so I did. Okay, so this stuff is kind of like a hybrid between a classic 90s aldehydes heavy in the opening. It's got the classic 90s opening, and the Drydown is more of like a callback to like the Eau Sauvage Terre de Hermes style of like that vetiver in particular. So what I have experienced with this, let me talk a little bit about the stages. So after about 15 minutes or so, it shifted from the lemon verbena. Once I had on the skin, my skin, I've noticed, likes to project orange more. And I will preface this by saying this is my skin. Your skin may be different. That's why I mentioned about the paper and all this stuff. It may be different for you. So on my skin, after about the first 15 minutes, it starts becoming a little bit more orange is what's being painted. And it continues, the aldehydes definitely continue to be there. And it starts to mushroom as well. So once the alcohol dries off from after the initial spray, which takes about 10-15 minutes, depending on how much you put on, the smell kind of builds. And I'm like, at one point I was like, oh crap, did I overspray this? And definitely it does go away. it doesn't last very long. I would say less than an hour for sure. So I think, again, it still is one of those scents you can really just go ham on. Another note that I have, it's very soapy. Like, this stuff, even out of the bottle, on the skin, in the wafts of it, wafts, not so much necessarily, but part of it. I'll talk about that in a minute. But in general, this is quite a soapy fragrance. It has vibes of like a high-end, like spa soap, something you'd find at like a nice hotel. It's got that kind of vibe about it, that like kind of a citrusy, orangey, slightly herbal soap. It's very, very nice in that way. Now, this kind of I'm gonna talk. Note to myself, I'm gonna talk about that in a moment, about that soapiness. Okay, let me first get through the rest of the dry down here. So after about 45 minutes, it starts to change. And this is where I got really surprised. I didn't realize it was going to have this kind of old schoolish type of smell. And what happens is this vetiver starts to come out. Now, it's not the grassy green type of vetiver. This is more like the vetiver you find in Eau Sauvage or Terre de Hermes. That's what I was getting vibes of. That kind of vetiver starts to take the center stage. And that's what starts to become painted. The citrusy, it's not really citrusy. It is, but it isn't. It's not a fresh squeezed lemon. It's a more of a herbal citrusy. It's also synthetic in that soapy citrusy smell, and that paints the vetiver. And the aldehydes also start to give way a little bit at this point, and they kind of start to mellow out. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour for that to happen. So I have my notes that orangey citrus is still there, but the vetiver is coming up. And it's kind of like this 90s style opening, because the opening, it really reminds me of like the 1990s, back in the day of like going into American Eagle, Abercrombie Fitch, designer. It's that characteristic aldehyde smell. You've probably smelled it before. If you don't recall, once you get your nose on it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that traditional fizzy kind of smell. Okay, now after about an hour and a half, the vetiver does take the center stage. And that's what I'm getting wafts of in the air, was this vetiver smell. It's not a straight vetiver. It's definitely painted with a little bit of that herbally verbena, maybe a little bit of floral, but not for me so much florals. The florals in this are so, I would say, synthetic that it doesn't, for me, it's not like a floral type of thing. You could call it floral. There also is a somewhat prominent wood cedar type of scent. I say cedar type of scent because, again, it's synthetic. So it's not like if I went and smelled, I cut open a cedar log and I went to put my nose on it. It's not like that cedar, but it's a synthetic form of cedar. Now, when I say synthetic, it's not harsh. It's actually a very, very pleasant smell. Then that's the wafts. So the wafts is like a vetiver painted with that cedar and a little bit of herbal verbena. Again, sort of like a soapiness, right? But when you put your nose right into it, the vetiver, the cedar is more pronounced, and there's a very prominent, and I was like, what is that? I've smelled it before, I just couldn't put my finger on it, and then I figured it out. It was this stuff. It is this stuff. Electric Shave. This stuff, if you haven't heard of this was, I think it came out in like the 1950s. It's a very old school aftershave. It's synthetic. The reason I bought this stuff is because it's like, for me, it's like spraying on soap. It's like spraying on body wash, that smell. There is there's some sort of note that's in this that it is in this as well. And I think it's the synthetic floralness that's kind of a little bit with the little floral herbalness that's in there, that's synthetic. Again, not harsh, it's smooth. Okay, so let me give my overall thoughts. In summary, 90s aldehydes, citrusy for me was more orange. That gives way. The aldehydes start to give way. The orange starts becoming a little more prominent than the lemon. It's still herbally. Then the vetiver starts to take center stage and comes up through the orange, and then eventually the orange takes a back seat. The aldehydes go away, and then you have this vetiver, cedarish, herbally, or slightly orange verbena herbal smell. It does smell, has a cousin would be like the Eau Sauvage Drydown, like not at quite as high quality, more, but not in a bad way. Again, it's very soapy. This stuff for me is like a very nice soapy scent, which leads me into the when and how to wear this, who's it for, and all that good stuff. And let me first say that this stuff Smells like it's going to be about a 5 to 6 hour scent on my skin. On different skin types, I can see this stretching a little bit farther. I think on clothes, you'll probably get a little bit more out of it. Man, it's very nice. Hey everyone, so as you can see, it's a little darker out, and I wanted to sneak this clip in. This was recorded after I finished the video, and the reason I'm recording this is because the longevity on the Eau De Rochas home actually surprised me. About 7 hours after I had done the original application, I had taken a shower, and when the water started hitting me, I was getting huge wafts of this stuff. So I think that I might have gone nose blind to it, and I also had sprayed some on my shirt, which was really churning it still. This stuff is easily like a 7 hour, even 8 hour, and depending on your skin type, to make it more. Definitely on clothes. I feel like they could last a lot longer on clothes. Because it's a little synthetic, not harsh, but synthetic, it does stick very, very well, and I will say especially to clothes. Okay, that's all I wanted to share for this. So Versatility, this is a scent that you can wear this at any time. This is a super versatile scent. You could be wearing this at the office. You could be wearing this with friends. Probably not for dressing up in suits, but you could still pull off because it just has a soapy, clean vibe to it. Particularly the opening, though, I don't think would work well or pair well with like a dress-up formal occasion. The Drydown would, this opening not so much. But this is any season scent. It's just one of those really dumb reaches, as they say. It's very, very easy to wear. Very comfortable, very soapy, very nice. Any age group could pull this off. If you're somebody who is like a die-hard classic formulations type of guy like Chypras and Fugés, you're going to want to wait to the Drydown for this because that opening is the 90's. It's not bad. It's pleasant. And it just in general, it's a very safe scent, but it's not dull. That's the difference. It's safe, but not dull. I think it is interesting. It does have a nice Drydown. It's not super dramatic, but it has enough of it where it's very interesting, but being safe and interesting at the same time, which is why I think it's extremely versatile. You know, I'm going to keep this one. I think this is about $30. I've actually seen it for cheaper than that. This is a 1.6 ounce, 50 mil. I would recommend going on sites like Mercari, maybe Etsy, and even eBay. And people who have it slightly used or just testers and stuff like this, you can find good prices on it. Somewhere between $20 and $30 will be your ballpark for about 50 mils of this stuff. I definitely do recommend it. I'm going to keep this one in for like a nice daytime scent. Not so much an evening time for me, definitely a daytime. I think this is also a crowd pleaser. I think this one is one you're probably going to get compliments on. It just has a very pleasant, fresh, soapy aura to it. So that's my review on this Eau De Rochas, and I want to wrap this up by saying on Monday, in a couple days from now, I have Bogart's Eau De Fresh. I think it's what it's called, Eau De Fresh or Eau Fresh, coming. I've heard a lot of good stuff about that, so I'm looking forward to reviewing another Freshy. So thank you for watching. Leave a comment below and let me know if you've ever smelled this stuff and what kind of vibes that this stuff gives you. What is the stuff that you're picking out of this? I'd love to hear from you. Make sure to waft kindness to others. God bless.